All quiet in Bryant-Denny Stadium now, Dennis. 24-20, the final. We got some things we thought we'd get, like, for instance, Jalen Milroe started at quarterback. We did not see Bryce Young anywhere other than the sideline. We saw offensive struggles at times from Texas A&M, but I'll tell you what ended up making this thing a lot closer than any point spread indicated. If you keep turning the ball over to the other team and giving them chances, eventually even the poor offensive teams can score on you and make it close, and that's what made this a 4-point game.
Yeah, there will be a narrative coming out of these parts in the next week. Well, Bryce Young didn't play, the 4 turnovers. Give Texas A&M credit. Jimbo said this wasn't a moral victory. This was a moral victory. Texas A&M played with the backup quarterback. Essentially, Haynes King had lost his job. The 4 turnovers were very physical turnovers by the Texas A&M defense. 3 fumbles, 1 interception. Very smart. They dialed up some things tonight. And that last drive, it looked like beyond all possibility they got down there, and there was some argument, I think, whether it was interference or holding on the last play. Evan Stewart was not in the end zone. Didn't matter. Would have been an extra play.
Right.
So it could have gone either way. So I as much, as they talked about Jimbo this week, I think he got off the hot seat.
What's interesting is both sides kind of doing that talking. There's a fair amount of that drumbeat, as you're referencing, from his own fan base. If you switch it back to Alabama, strangely, the team that won the game tonight, it kind of felt deflating. You were in Jimbo's press conference. I hopped over to Nick Saban's press conference, and he said, well, there's a lot of things we can do better, trying to get Bryce back. But, there was a little time here around Alabama where they won with defense. And then there was that shift around the mid-20 teens when they realized
2014 when they got Lane.
Yeah, we can score 50 points if we want to. And all of a sudden, the close Bama games were games that were in the high 30s and the 40s. And we saw a couple of times where offense had to bail them out because defense couldn't get stops. This was kind of a throwback feel when you got late in the game and you realized offense is not going to get it done for us. Defense has got to go get it done. And, Will Anderson was a monster tonight. Defense got stops when they needed to, including a pivotal one down near the goal line.
Yeah, it was a withering defense tonight, and I thought Texas A&M's offensive line survived. They are very average. That will improve with time, but they were very average, and against a good defense, they were just holding on, and sometimes literally holding on against that defense. Will Anderson, I think, had 10 hurries and 2 tackles. It was one of those games where he was in on every snap, and if he wasn't, Dallas Turner was. But again, credit the Aggies for hanging on, getting it down to the end, and almost winning the sucker.
Yeah. Here's the weird feel now. Even as we're standing on this field, you just said moral victory for Texas A&M. I can buy that. You said Jimbo off the hot seat. I can buy we're not going to hear hot seat talk this week.
Right.
But the season's halfway over. So they're going to play with a backup quarterback again next week and the week after and the week after. That offensive line's going to trot out there the week after and the week after. And it's weird because this time last year, as you and I talked about this week, they won this game last year, but then they went and lost 2 more after that. So they lost this one tonight. That's their 3rd loss. This is a 500 team that had aspirations of maybe winning the SEC West. And I'm just very curious what success looks like, even if you just hit the reset button tonight.
Yeah, they get the bye week and then Ole Miss, and that's going to be a tussle. Does this look like a 7-5 team? 8-4 now, to me, looks like 11-1.
Yeah, it sure does.
It looks like 9-1 a couple of years ago in the COVID year, just to squeeze that out of this because of what happened. Again, Jimbo in the postgame said, we were down all kinds of injuries. We were down a quarterback. It was the effort, but you can't. There's only so far this team can go like that, emotionally, physically. I thought, again, they dialed it up really good schematically, but they were throwing to a true freshman receiver at the end, and God bless him, he still might be their best receiver, but that's what they had, and Alabama bowed up.
They were throwing at a true freshman corner, by the way,
yes,
so a couple of true freshmen here shining at the end. It wasn't 2 minutes into Nick Saban's postgame press conference before even he already looked ahead and said, we got a good team coming up this next week. We got to go on the road and play them this next week. And, boy, I know we got to maybe give the sun some time to rise, but Alabama-Tennessee is going to feature undefeated, 3rd Saturday in October for the first time since I was far too young to operate any kind of motor vehicle. What a scene that's going to be in Knoxville next week.
It's going to be crazy. As I said before, there's not going to be a cigar left in Knoxville with anticipation of smoking them in victory in that game. So No, I don't think Alabama can win without Bryce Young.
Right.
They just can't in that setting. Now, Tennessee's defense isn't as good as Texas A&M's, but they're going to get after him. 102,000 people or more at Neyland Stadium. They absolutely need him to win in what now looks like those old shootouts you were talking about.
Yeah.
That looks like how they're going to win.
An incredible scene in Bryant Denny Stadium tonight. Another one awaiting us 7 days from now in Tuscaloosa. Thus is life in the SEC.
Dennis, Josh, thank you. Next week, the third Saturday in October, Alabama and Tennessee renewing their rivalry, this time in Knoxville, as you heard Josh and Dennis talk about. Lately, the rivalry's been one-sided. With the Tide winning 15 straight meetings, Alabama and Tennessee enter their matchup undefeated for the first time since 1989.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.